It's a long way to the top. If you want to rock and roll, you want to rock and roll? Driving on the highway, going to a show. Stopping on the byway, playing rock and roll. Getting round, getting stoned, getting beat up, throwing bone, getting high, getting shook. Watch where your boots, it's harder than it looks. It's a long way to the top if you wanna rock and roll. It's a long way to the top if you wanna rock and roll. It's easy to do one night stands. Try being a rock and roll band. It's a long way to the top if you wanna rock and roll.
Good evening, race fans. I'm your host, Caden Reif, and welcome to another installment of the 2006 season of the NASCAR Coca-Cola Cup Series. We're here from Miami, race number 2. Been a little bit of a time away, but we're back here down at the south side of Florida for the second race of this 2006 season, the Radio Shack 400 here today, as we take you to the track side for your starting lineup in today's event. In just a moment, actually, I forgot to accelerate real quick through the starting countdown, but should be okay. There we go. All right, switch you over here to take a look at your starting lineup for today's race. It'll be Casey Atwood in the 30 car qualifying on pole for today, and not Tony Stewart. It'll be Kevin Harvick, his ex-teammate, on the outside in the 20 car. Looking down the rest of the grid is Jimmy Johnson in the 48 will be starting from third place, and Casey Kane in the 38 in fourth. Bobby Labonte will be starting from the 5th position, and 6th place will be Scott Riggs in the 57. Tony Stewart there in 7th. And 8th place will be Mike Bliss in the 81, a couple of other ex-teammates in that 4th row. Then the 0 car, that'll be Christian Elder, and the 22 of Sterling Marlin will be back there in 11th and 12th. 13th place will be Greg Biffle in the 16, and 14th will be Brian Vickers in the 44. 15th goes to Regan Smith, the rookie, and 16th, another rookie, Jason Leffler. 17th will be Kurt Busch in the 01, and Robbie Gordon will start from the 18th position. 19th goes to Jeff Burton, and Martin Truex Jr. will start from 20th. 21st will be Matt Kenseth and Ricky Rudd in 22nd place. 23rd goes to Jeremy Mayfield and John Wood in 24th. Kyle Busch will be in P25, and Scott Wimmer, the 26th position race car. 27th will be Elliott Sadler, and 28th, Jack Sprague. 29th, Dale Jr. in the 88, and Ryan Newman joining him in 30th. 31st goes to Carl Edwards, and 32nd will be Morgan Shepherd. 33rd will be John Andretti in the 21 car, and 34th, Jeff Green. 35th will be Jamie McMurray, a bit of a poor qualifying from him, as well as Mark Martin, who will be in 36. Those two looking to climb the order here on Sunday. 37th goes to Todd Bodine, and 38th, Eric Norris. Chase Montgomery in the 39th position, and TJ Bell in 40th. I believe this might be his Cup debut. Have to check up on that one. 41st to Ricky Craven, and Tony Raines in 42nd to round out this 42-car field. Everybody getting ready to roll here as we are set to roll off from the starting grid. 81 laps here at Miami. Everybody rolling off here from Miami. Taking a look at the pre-race preview of this one. As we mentioned, 81 laps here today. Expecting a couple of pit stops here and there. Casey Atwood to roll off from the start. First normal racetrack, as we like to say, on the schedule here in Homestead as everybody gets set to get acclimatized to this new season once again. Daytona just last week won by Bobby Labonte, who started that race in the very last starting position. A lot of calamity in that one as well. 3 cautions in that Daytona race. Looking for a bit of a calmer one here in Miami at the mile and a half, and the race that hosts the championship finale all the way at the end of the season. So a lot of data getting collected here for this race as everybody looks to try and figure out the racetrack, but a very different race to that second race at Miami for race number 36, as this one ran under the sun instead of under the lights for that championship round. But that one is a long ways off, and a lot of season up in between now and then. Pace car to peel off, and will lead the field to the green. Here is Casey Atwood, the pole sitter, into the restart box, and we are underway here from Miami.
Green flag's in the air. And Casey Atwood's going to head into turn 1, clearing former teammate Kevin Harvick.
Off of turn 2 for the first time as everybody gets set to roll here at Miami. Atwood, the leader, off of the first set of corners. Bobby Labonte ducks underneath Jimmy Johnson for second place very quickly. A lot of battles behind the race leader, and everybody looking to get sorted out early in the running. Bottom line looking dominant very early, but everybody up to speed now as the 30 sits in front of the field into turn 1 this time.
He's starting to pull away from Bobby Labonte. Got about 2 car lengths against him as he enters into the backstretch.
Mostly double file through the field as they head into turn 3 that time. Tony Stewart moving up past the 48 of Jimmy Johnson into 3rd place, looking to get to work on Labonte for 2nd, and does. Atwood loving this in his mirror early as everybody except for the leader is feisty and in a bunch of battles in the midfield, seeing a lot of the field spreading out there down the front stretch. Some 3 wide. Casey Kane stuck up on the very outside back there.
You know, this is a race that was ran at the night last year. Maybe a lot of these teams don't quite have a setup for David.
Absolutely. And definitely expecting these guys to try and get acclimatized to this new racetrack's surface, of course, as Miami reconfigured a handful of years ago, and running it in new conditions, obviously, as this is the first time this race has been ran in the day in a couple of years. So interesting to see how the teams acclimatize to it, and we've seen a couple of surprise runners up at the front. Christian Elder in the 0 car is near the top 5, running in the 7th position right now, I believe. Might even be 6th, and it is, actually. And, of course, Casey Atwood, the pole winner on Saturday, up and has led all 4 laps so far. He's got previous race winner Bobby Labonte in the 18 right behind him. A lot of familiar faces in the rest of the top 5, 18, 42, 5, 48, all some of the front runners from last season, trailing this 30 car, who continues to lead the early going here. Most of this front group single file now. Kevin Harvick, the outside pole sitter, works past the 0 and into 6th. Jeff Burton in the 99 moves into 7th.
I gotta say, I do find Casey Atwood's pole to be very surprising, but I think that he's going to be the way of the future for the Richard Childress Racing organization if he keeps his performance up, as he continues to hold off Bobby Labonte.
Absolutely. Got the surprise promotion to full-time last year after co-driver, the 30, Lyndon Amick, was unceremoniously released from the team and ran all the rest of the races in the Cup Series to the end of the season at that point, and was told, you'll be in the Cup car next year. It's his final chance, maybe, in the Cup Series, but he's made the most of it so far, and being the driver of the 3rd Childress car last season, not a whole lot of expectations surrounding him from Richard, of course, and just kind of trying to bring the car home, and that's something he definitely did a lot of last year. And got the call, got the full-time ride, and making the most of it early. Still a lot of season left, of course, but a good showing to make a statement, you know, always want to run up front when you can, and let every lap still. It's Bobby Labonte in the 18, off by a little bit of a ways from 2nd place still. But another thing that's worth mentioning in this race is we're seeing a lot of experience up front. Of course, this racetrack, as we mentioned, this race hasn't been ran in the day up to this point. This is the first time that they've ever done it. especially at least in this configuration. This race has been ran in the day at the past on the flat version of Miami before it was reconfigured, but nonetheless, it's interesting to consider given that they are running this race in the day here, and we're seeing a lot of familiar faces up front who seem to have a good handle on it early, and experience seems to be important. A couple of young guns up front. St. Martin Truex Jr. in the 8 making an appearance in the top 10, as well as Kyle Busch, who's only been around a couple of years in the 43, but definitely a storied organization that he's a part of at least, so experience seems to matter in this first race in the day here at Homestead.
I'm starting to feel like we're hyping up the sun more than some of the drivers in this field.
Battle for the lead, first of which we've seen today. Here's Bobby Labonte underneath the 30. Tony Stewart thinking about taking it up the middle 3 wide and didn't.
And Atwood gets shafted,
That'll promote
pushed up to the high line, and Bobby Labonte clears him going to the backstretch, and Stewart will do the same as well.
Stewart to second place, Labonte to the lead. Meanwhile, two Hendrick teammates for fourth, that's Ricky Hendrick and Jimmy Johnson. Kurt Busch pulling up into this mix. Ganassi looking strong to start this race day, as Tony Stewart running second in just his second race with his new team. Right behind the 18 of Bobby Labonte, who right back where he left off last week, now in the lead here in the second of the Florida races to start this year.
In case the Atwood the outside of Tony Stewart, and now he's trying to look inside, but he can't really make much of a move.
We got a little squirrely behind the 42 car there. That opened the door for the 5 of Ricky Hendrick to duck low for third. A lot of battles in this top 5 as we head into turn 1 this time. 5 car couldn't quite stay with the 30 and still putting the pressure on now with another chance down the backstretch. Still fighting hard for that third position as Stewart is still bearing down on the back bumper of the 18 for the race lead.
And 3 wide, going for fourth, Kurt Busch. Trying to make the move on Ricky Hendrick, side by side on the front stretch. I think he's got him. He's going to be clear going into 1. And no, ooh! Ricky's got him on the outside. He's going for a 2-for-1 special. He's trying to get onto the inside of Atwood. And he does it. Now, can he keep that momentum going?
Down towards
and he's pushed forward and he clears him.
Battle for the lead at the exact same time. Tony Stewart muscling past Bobby Labonte for the race lead, and the 42 car now has first place, third leader of the day. Back past that Interstate Batteries 18, who falls into the clutches of Ricky Hendrick for second.
Lots of very ambitious walks you've been seeing thrown. And some pretty ambitious pass attempts, too.
Absolutely, everybody getting aggressive. You saw it there. Casey Atwood tried to get in front of the 01 of Kurt Busch and couldn't do it. 01 ducks low for the 4th position as he fights with that Good Wrench Chevrolet up on the outside line. Good Wrench, a real tree Chevrolet, it should be said. Bobby Labonte still trying to get back at Ricky Hendrick for second. He's got the nose underneath down into turn number 3. Hendrick powering around the outside, but couldn't quite keep him off. Here's the 18 still on the inside as they leave turn number 4 this time. Tony Stewart loving this in his mirrors. He's pulling away from the lead comfortably now. 18-5 still. Labonte tries to run him up the racetrack, but Hendrick's got the grip up there. Had to get out of the throttle just a little bit. Think he's got him. And he does. 5 holds on to second place. Here's Kurt Busch putting a little bit of pressure on Bobby Labonte, but nothing doing after that. 18 pulls all the way back up. We're seeing him pull back up in the middle of the corner. Hendrick holding back a bit of a train here now.
And it can't be said enough that when it comes to Tony Stewart, him leaving the Joe Gibbs Racing organization was probably a big blow to them, but joining Ganassi was probably one of the best moves for his career as a whole. And it comes up to a point where at this early point of the season, only 2 races in, and you're already leading your races with this team. It's spectacular. It's a statement against Bobby Labonte and the rest of the Gibbs organization, honestly.
Absolutely, and the Gibbs will be gritting their teeth over the 42 being out front right now when it could be for them. Meanwhile, a couple of other stories to mention in the middle of this race. We're seeing a couple drivers who started outside the top 30, making their way into the top 15. That's John Andretti in the 21 car, as well as Jamie McMurray in the 40. Ganassi having a strong Sunday right now as the 40 recovering from poor qualifying. Ryan Newman's also found his way up towards the front of the field. He started exactly 30th. And a couple of other drivers, meanwhile, have slipped backwards. We see Casey Kane in the 38 all the way outside the top 20, not off to a very good start to this race as we approach lap number 20. And a couple of others back there. Bliss has dropped a bit of a ways off in the 81. And plenty of others who have fallen backwards. Regan Smith has stuck around where he is. Scott Riggs as well has lost a handful of positions, trying to stay inside the top 20. So some comers and goers, but most of the main front runners have been the same group of people. This battle for second is still continuing. It's Ricky Hendrick trying to hold on the outside and has done so for the last handful of laps. He's got his teammate Jimmy Johnson on the inside now. Kevin Harvick has joined this mix in the 20. Down the backstretch. Even battle between these guys for this spot, but Jimmy Johnson back past the 5 and into P2 now, having to contend with Kevin Harvick, who beat him for the win by about half a car length in this race last spring. Just a matter of trying to find the grit. We see the 21 back there running the bottom. We see 48 running high. A lot of cars on the bottom, a lot of cars on the outside. Just trying to find what works, really. The 5 has been working a lot of the outside for the middle portion of this race. See Kevin Harvick pulling up a lot on Jimmy Johnson running the bottom that time. Johnson ran the outside in 1 and 2 the previous lap, and it worked out for him to close the gap to Tony Stewart just a little bit. We see him working again there to clear him into turn 1.
Looks like there might be some marbles just about a half lane off into 3 and 4.
Just a little bit.
Causing people to get loose and
See Tony Stewart trying to find some grip, running a little high, a little low, 18 ducking low, finding some speed against the 5 and 20. Just exploration right now has worked for this race, and seeing a lot of it in this first run. People trying to find grip. Robbie Gordon way on the outside, for example, and just, again, trying to find what works early in the running here as we approach this first pit window.
And the next big surprise in terms of driver changes was Kevin Harvick as he reaches up to P2, or he's trying to battle against Jimmy Johnson right now. He left Richard Childress Racing last year to move over to Joe Gibbs Racing, Tony Stewart's old ride. And he's now fighting against the former driver of the 20. Yet another statement race for both these drivers right now. They both see themselves as the way of the future for their new team, and they're really going for it right now as he starts to close the distance in on Tony.
Absolutely running him down. A big run on the inside as he closes all the way up to the back bumper. We'll go to the inside heading towards turn 1. We'll see if Johnson's draft help keeps the 42 in front, and it will, just about. So these 3 juggernauts still fighting up front. Ricky Hendrick to contend with the 48. A huge run on the inside through 1 and 2 that time. Drove straight past his teammate in the 48. Now looks to the outside of the 20 as these 2 battle for the lead in front of him. Talk about statements, of course. Another driver who's having a good race right now, Martin Truex Jr. in the 8, who was the replacement for Kevin Harvick coming up from the Busch Series through Childress's program. That team renumbering after absorbing what was left of DEI going into this season and converting the 29 team into a combination sort of thing with the 8 team, running that Good Ranch Chevrolet, and moving over to that number with the blessings of Dale Jr. to keep running that organization with that number, and Truex Jr. in his rookie season off to a good start so far. Although wrecked out of Daytona, but didn't have too bad of a race. He was in a couple accidents and seemed like he had a pretty fast race car in that showing up to that point. And running in the top 10 here today, he's got his teammate Robbie Gordon right behind him. Still, battle for the lead is continuing as Kevin Harvick looking like he's going to get past the 42 this time. Bobby Labonte trying to take it 3 wide up the inside. Couldn't find the grip down there. Ricky Hendrick capitalizes up the middle. Might have nosed the 42 up the racetrack a little bit, and it's 20 and 5 up front now.
And that 5 had to fight, had to fight for every position. It's got all season last year, and it looks like this season might be more the same.
did a heck of a job to find an opening there and slip into P2 ahead of the 18 and 42 through turns 3 and 4. This time, Robbie Gordon now joining the mix up front into the top 5. Seeing some more comers and goers here in the latter portion of this run. Still the 20 out front comfortably. Ricky Hendrick trying to chase him down in that 5 car right now. His teammate Jimmy Johnson just behind. Robbie Gordon clear for 4th. Everybody against everybody right now. Might we see pit stops this time? We will. 25, 2 liters in. Jimmy Johnson stays out to take the race lead ahead of Robbie Gordon.
I mean, the play here has got to be 4 tires, right?
Absolutely. At this stage in the race, they will absolutely be taking 4. Expecting this pit stop here around lap number 30 and then another one around lap number 60. We'll see what the play is. 48 out front now. Looking like he's got the hand out the window. Robbie Gordon in the 31 will stay out longer. Tony Stewart all the way from the outside. Losing ground. A lot of traffic coming in, but everybody seemed to manage it okay. I might have gained that 42 car a bit of ground. He made up a lot of time when he was pitting from the very outside. Robbie Gordon staying out an extra lap from the lead. And hey, that 31 car's got a good strategist. He might know something we don't. We'll see how it works out for him. Comfortably in front of the only other car of the top 5 that stayed out. That'd be Greg Biffle in the 16.
32-64, you start getting into the realm of being able to only take 2.
Potentially. Could cut it a little close. But going to have to avoid a lot of traffic coming into this pit lane as Robbie Gordon leads the final group of pitters. Yep, watch out. 6 car right in the way, but finds an opening. And Greg Biffle in that mess as well, trying to find a way to get into his pit box, and does. Just so much traffic. 4 tires and fuel for race leader Robbie Gordon as he looks to see where he'll come out of the pits. Was around the top 5 when he came in. A lot of traffic for him. And away from his pit box as he leaves the pit lane. Net race leader's Jimmy Johnson at the moment. Racing to try to chase down that 31, and he will. Coming out of turn 4, Jimmy Johnson will take the race lead. Gordon merges back onto the racetrack, 5th.
And already he's trying to get that 4th spot back from Tony Stewart. And Ricky Hendrick to the lead.
5v48 for first. Tony, excuse me, still used to Tony in the 20 car. Here's Harvick on the bottom, taking it 3 wide. Between these 3 who are all alone for the race lead, it's now Hendrick and Harvick down the backstretch. 5 and 20 into turn 3. A dead heat between these 2 as Johnson is forced to drop out all the way on the outside. And Kevin Harvick, the double overtake, he's got first again. What a move by that 20 car.
Miracle everyone kept all 4 tires under the car at that point.
Absolutely, and did a great job forcing that 3 wide and passing both of the Hendrick teammates for the lead. Tony Stewart still trying to close in from that 4th position, and the battle for 5th is between Robbie Gordon and Ryan Newman. Again, that 12 car climbing up the order, started this race in 30th, and has slowly found his way up the order and towards the back end of the top 5. Good run for him right now. Jamie McMurray as well, who started even further back. He was around 35th, runs in 11th at the moment. Ganassi's brought some good race cars to this event. But right now, it's 3 Chevrolets, 25-48, all in this duel for the lead. Jimmy Johnson looked underneath his teammate for 2nd. Couldn't find the nose down there. As they stay single file through turns 1 and 2. Tony Stewart still with the draft, finding his way closer and closer to this battle. Ran his best lap of the race so far, which was a 28.815, better than the best of any of the rest of the 3 in front of him. Jimmy Johnson fighting his teammate for 2nd right now. Hendrick with the defense on the outer line, and he is back clear on the top. Holds off his championship-winning teammate for P2, and now has his sights set on Harvick for the race lead. And he does get underneath the 20 for first as they head down the front stretch. Couldn't stay there, though. Harvick, with the more aggressive entry on the outside, gets back clear. Tony Stewart in the 42 has joined this battle. Ran even faster the last lap. It was a 28.733. That was the second fastest lap of the race, the fastest belonging to the double zero car, Jason Leffler, who runs 25th. Casey Kane, also another driver worth noting who's found a bit of a recovery drive. He's in 15th now. Fell outside the top 20 for just a little while and had a pretty good pit stop, it seems like, and has caught up to this pack of drivers 15th all the way through 5th, which belongs to Kurt Busch. And getting to work on some of these guys to try and pick up some positions. 3 wide there as Bobby Labonte got forced up by McMurray, who's still trying to pick up some positions up there. Standout drive by the rookie 2 and 30, Regan Smith and Casey Atwood. Well, Atwood, of course, not a Cup rookie, but an impressive drive from him, as we mentioned. But the rookie Regan Smith, who's had an impressive drive today, that's worth noting. Running inside the top 10 for a big portion of this race. And with the big guns at the moment, fighting 40, 38, 24, 17, 31. A lot of big names in that group. Battle for the lead. Kevin Harvick and Jimmy Johnson, 20 and 48 for first.
That's what I think a lot of people expected this season quite a bit.
Absolutely, and Jimmy Johnson on the bottom lane is back into the race lead. Coming up to the stripe this time, it'll be halfway in this race. 40 laps to go for your race leaders. Harvick with a nice crossover, trying to get back underneath the 48 towards turn 1, and he did. Can he stay there is the question. Trying to fight. Down on the low line, might have had a slightly better exit. Dead heat into turn 3 this time. And Harvick has that move made. Ricky Hendrick with a big run to try to take it all the way up to the 20. Harvick blocks him. Good move by the 20 to keep him behind, but an aggressive block. See how Ricky Hendrick, of all people, takes that. Tony Stewart also trying to make a move.
But through all of this, it looks like Kurt's getting into this fight.
Yes, he is, taking the whole rest of this secondary pack with him for the most part, as they've strung out, catching the draft of the race leaders. Ricky Hendrick now into the race lead, but Tony Stewart with a chance on the bottom, although Hendrick will clear him, excuse my voice crack, into turn 1 that time. But Stewart still looking on the low line coming out of 2, has a chance. I think Hendrick might have been able to stay in the throttle just a little better. Johnson trying to take it 3 wide on the low line. 3 abreast through 3 and 4. Johnson with the lead of the line. Stewart and Hendrick get into each other in turn 1. That opens the door for Johnson to leave them both in the dust, and he will have the race lead out of turn 2.
Is this the beginning of a new rivalry?
Goodness me.
I'm pretty sure Ricky Hendrick has run into just about everyone on the track, so I'm sure they're even now. But through all of that, the whole field is caught back up to these leaders.
Hendrick had given a nudge, I believe it was to the 20 earlier on. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but we've seen some very aggressive racing from all of these race leaders in the 5. Ever the Opportunist has really made the most of it, but getting a little bit of a nudge there from the 42 a couple laps prior. 20:48. Now the race leaders once again. It's Kurt Busch who's moved all the way up into 3rd, and the rest of this pack, who was just a little bit off of the top 3 or 4, has caught back up to the race leaders. And it'll be a big skirmish all the way through the top 15 once this final group of 5 catches up here. Johnson, Harvick, Busch, Hendrick, and Stewart, your top 5.
And the racing's been so intense that we completely missed the halfway point.
Did mention it just briefly, but didn't really have much of a chance to go over anything special, given that, man, the racing up front has been very aggressive and very active. Johnson pulling away just that little bit from the race lead. Holding on to a comfortable margin at the moment.
I mean, it's still early days. We haven't really had many of the story of the season start coming into picture. When do you think about what race will it be before we can really start getting a good idea of who's going to be fighting for it, who's going to be fighting to recover, who's going to be winning?
Well, normally I would tell you around race 8 is the idea of the time that you'd think of when you think, all right, it's time to lock down and see what the deal is with all the season stories and how everybody's running. But after the stories we saw last season, I doubt you can be so certain until maybe a little bit later than that.
You know, if the championship contenders were decided after race 8, we'd probably still be seeing Kenny Wallace on the track right now.
Absolutely. So we'll see how long it takes for this championship hunt to develop, but very early days, so we'll talk about that a little later. Harvick and Johnson have pulled away from the field just a little bit here. Kurt Busch trailing by a tiny bit. He's in 3rd place right now. Ricky Hendrick 4th and Tony Stewart 5th. Everybody's singled out and calmed down at the moment. Not really a whole lot of battles on the racetrack, though. Newman tried to get underneath the 42, couldn't do it. 30 laps to go here from Miami. The entire top 15 single file at the moment. In fact, all the way through the field, pretty much. Not a whole lot of battles going on. Seeing a couple drivers having some rough races at the moment, including the 26, Christian Elder, who was in the top 10 in the early portion of this race, has fallen all the way down to 37th. Scott Wimmer's having a rough one in 36th, and Brian Vickers hasn't had a too welcoming race. 33rd for him. John Wood in 32nd. Jeff Burton, who was in the top 10 a little bit, has fallen all the way back down to 29th. So the front runners and back markers of this race have pretty much been decided at this point. Battle for the lead has heated up just a tiny little bit again. Jimmy Johnson was way up the racetrack there, holding off all these guys on the top side. It's now battle for P2 as Kurt Busch tried to get underneath Harvick for 2nd, but couldn't quite do it. So that top 3 stays the same. Busch trying to dive underneath again into turn 3 this time. Still tightly knit for 2nd. Jimmy Johnson pulling away. Bunch of juggernauts here for 2nd place as Tony Stewart joins the mix, helping his teammate with a little bit of draft on the inside. Good teamwork there. Trying to help out that 01 car down the backstretch as Harvick will not be able to keep it up there, and Kurt Busch gets clear. Now Stewart kind of forced underneath his teammate, having been underneath the 20 on corner entry, so now it's the 2 teammates for 2nd. Both of them clear Harvick, who drops to 4th. Busch trying to find the grip on the outside. Stewart looking for something on the bottom. Dead heat down the backstretch.
We're going to have pit stops here pretty soon.
That we are, approaching the pit window of lap 60. Probably going to see a couple in around 58, 59 through probably 61, 62, maybe a little later than that, we'll see. Just around 20 laps to go will be that final pit window. Busch dropping backwards on the outside, had a bit of a poor set of corners that time, so his defending champion teammate Tony Stewart clear into 2nd place. Now has his sights set on the 48, who has led the latter half of this run pretty convincingly. 9, maybe 10 if you want to shoe in Kenseth, is the count of cars who are still up here with this race lead. Stewart v. Johnson for first. Dives it in there on the bottom lane to try to fight with the 48, and the two-time champion has first place. That was very opportunistic, and he trusted in his tires to get him by there, and it sure did work. 42 back into the race lead.
Gave him the old there you go.
Not really much a chance there for Johnson to fight back. Stewart found another groove there and just flew right on past. Harvick now fighting with the 48 for second. Nope, he's going to pit. 20 and 5 are going to short pit. We've seen pitting a little longer work at this racetrack sometimes. 18 was also in frame coming in that time. So those guys in the pit lane. 74 also came in, just a handful. And we'll see more shooting into frame this time.
There's always a little bit of a trickle in that second round.
48, 01, 30 all come in that time. Tony Stewart, the race leader, still on the racetrack, and you can imagine he wants that clean racing real estate to try and maybe gain some ground. It's 31-24. Right behind him, who stay out, unsurprising, Robbie Gordon went long in the first cycle. Newman and Kenseth also still out on the racetrack as we work to come in here. Stewart in. The two Gordons racing for position as they come into the pits. Newman and Kenseth right behind. 48-16, pretty much everybody. The Chase Montgomery is going to stay out here. And he will lead that lap. Led a lap in the 500 last Sunday. And gets himself...
I mean, when you're a buffer team like Atkins is, every point matters.
Absolutely, so taking that opportunity to the fullest. Jimmy Johnson leaving the pit lane. Well in front of Kurt Busch. Kevin Harvick pulling up on the outside. Into second place. Net P2 at the moment. Johnson, a great pit stop, has the lead. At least at the moment, we'll see where that 42 car comes out. Jeff Gordon also had a stellar pit stop, a bit of an uncharacteristically poor one for the 31 team who fell off a little bit there. 42 rejoining the racetrack. Jimmy Johnson on the outside, the race leader. Should have the lead next time. Montgomery just came into the pits, and I actually believe just left his pit stall. Battle for first, 48-20, heading into turn 1. Can Harvick get past the 48? He does.
But doesn't clear him, the 48.
Bit of a second life there in the middle of the backstretch, and Harvick gets past the 48. So Johnson, Stewart, right behind the 20 in that mix. That was close there. Ricky Hendricks still playing it aggressive. That's 4th and 5th, 01 and 5. So looking like it's going to be these 7 for this race win. Could just be these 3, but I think the rest of this top 5 and the front end of the top 10 have a chance. Ooh, 42, Stewart's got a tire down. And that changes everything. The caution's out. Everybody's scrambling to avoid him as he has to bring it into the pit lane. Yellow flag flies. Everybody trying to get around that. Kenseth lost a ton of ground. Andretti slipping through. And this race just got turned on its head.
And you know, I can tell you one person who's really excited to hear about that, and that's Chase Montgomery. He's got the freshest tires in the field. He's got a lap led.
Absolutely, not too far down the field either. He's 24th at the moment. Solid run by him. Stewart gets it into the pits and gets that tire changed. Do not believe he fell a lap down. He did not. Lucky spot to have his tire go down that explosively. That thing came apart. and it was right next to pit entry. He was scrambling to get down there. Imagine he was struggling to even keep it on the banking because that tire was just coming apart. And
I mean, yeah, and you have about 12, 15 cars all trying to dodge a tire carcass. It's a miracle we didn't have a crash thing.
Yeah, absolutely. The 1721, pretty much everybody almost ran into him, so good driving by the whole field to get around him. Inside the final 15 laps, Kevin Harvick, the race leader, after that surprise late first caution. We'll be right back here from Miami with the 20 in first. Back from intermission here at Miami as we get set to go on this late race restart. It will be lap number 69 coming to the restart here. 13 laps to go. It'll be 20, 48, 01, 5, and 24, your top 5. Newman, Kane, Robbie Gordon, Casey Atwood, and Bobby Labonte round out the top 10. Tony Stewart still in the race. Got that tire changed quickly. No structural damage to this race car. He'll restart all the way in the back in 40 seconds. See how far he can get up here. Coming to the restart as Kevin Harvick will lead the field to the green here. And we are right back underway. A good start from the race leader as he takes us into turn 1 this time. With the whole front group mostly single file. Newman caught napping a little bit. The top 5 pulls away. Johnson with a run. Looks low. Ducks low. To the inside. Kurt Busch threw an ambitious block on the 5 car to keep himself on the bottom.
Himself and the field.
Absolutely.
And here comes Casey Kane.
Casey Kane still cutting up through the field. He's into 6th place now. Jimmy Johnson's got the race lead. Here's Jeff Gordon, who we haven't really talked about a whole lot today. He's fighting with his teammate for 4th. Bit of 3 wide there in the back. See the 21 up on the outside. Kurt Busch and Kevin Harvick. 3 wide up front. Here's Casey Kane on the bottom. Hendrick falling backwards. Ryan Newman and Robbie Gordon almost made contact off of turn 4 that time. Down into turn 1. 5 getting shafted on the start. What a run by Kane. Here he comes on the 01 and 20 now.
Something we've heard hammered on and on and on about the 38 is that this season they need to be able to not leave opportunities on the table.
And he's not leaving any of them. Here he comes on Harvick for 2nd, and he left him in the dust now. 48 with the lead. 10 laps to go. Casey Kane to 2nd place.
You know, win or lose, Jimmy Johnson running in that 1st place spot right now is a massive deal. At least to him, I would have to believe, after how his season went last year at Phoenix, as he tumbled and rolled around the track and was taken out for most of the year. While Kane's closing in on him, can he actually get to him?
Better exit by Johnson that time. 9 to go at the stripe. They were almost 3 wide for 3rd. Kevin Harvick held everybody off. It's going to come down to this 38 and 48 if things keep going the way they are. That Yahoo! Ford is flying right now.
But the other thing you gotta notice is that Jimmy Johnson, this is a completely different Jimmy than we've seen in all the other previous seasons. He's rejuvenated. He's motivated. He wants to get out there and kick some butt. He wants to go out there and make himself the way of the future of Hendrick Motorsport.
What a run by Harvick out of turn 4 that time. Took it all the way to the 38. But Kane holds him off on the outside. 4 cars under a blanket for the lead. Kane putting pressure on Johnson for first.
He's going to be peeking in on that inside, but Johnson's blocking.
Battling for third
Busch
behind.
Third.
Kurt Busch underneath the 20. Harvick with a huge run on the top line. Had to get a little bit out of the throttle when he pulled up to the 38. Johnson still holding everybody off. They head down the front stretch again as Kane looks to try to find a way around that Lowe's 48 for first place. Got to get a big run like he did a couple laps ago. Down the backstretch now.
It's like a tea kettle, and you can almost hear it whistling.
3 wide behind all the race leaders. That was 12, 5, and 18. All battling for the 7th spot. Here comes Kane for the race lead.
And Kevin Harvick's peeking under.
Almost 3 wide. Here's Kevin Harvick on the bottom lane. Johnson trying to hold all of them off. 3 deep out of turn 2.
Johnson clears him. He holds. He defends. But does Kane have another move?
Harvick on the bottom. What a run. Down into turn 4 this time. Dead heat between the two who were 1-2 here last spring. 5 laps to go at the line.
Harvick just undercut the field, but Johnson's still pulling away. He clears him again.
Johnson clear on the top. 20 to second place. Robbie Gordon, where did he come from? Down the back stretches, it'll be 20 and 48 first and second now. Gordon trying to get underneath for the second spot. Harvick holds him off. Down off of turn 4. Does the 20 have anything for the 48? Gordon putting the pressure on from 3rd. Jeff Gordon from 4th. Kane trying to get clear from 5th and recover from that 3 wide move that Harvick put on him a couple laps ago. He gets in front of Ricky Hendrick. Contact between the 5 and the 18 into turn 3 that time. There's almost too much to talk about, but Jimmy Johnson is pulling away. He just ran his best lap of the race, a 28.784. That might have put everything to bed, but can Harvick pull back in and try to make one final run for the win?
Robbie Gordon is giving Kevin Harvick a really hard time and preventing him from being able to catch up to Johnson.
And you wonder, these two were teammates last season and Harvick took a loud exit from Childress. Is it remnants of that? Meanwhile, Harvick still trying to keep the head down with 2 laps to go. Johnson pulling away in the middle of the corner again. Here comes Robbie Gordon to try to fight for second. Kane looking...
Side by side. Like
oh
a
my
cannon
goodness!
is Robbie Gordon. He hits Harvick.
Almost contact. I believe they kept it off each other, but Harvick had to dart out of the way. Last lap for Jimmy Johnson. And you just wonder, with the 48 car coming into this season, there were so many question marks surrounding that 48 team this year. How long would it take him to get back to form? He spent so long out of the race car, spent so long trying to get back up to shape to run, and people wondered how long would it take? It didn't take him a second. Out of turn 4, Jimmy Johnson will win his first race of 2006, running away with it here at Miami. Kevin Harvick comes up short in second place. It'll be Robbie Gordon 3rd, Jeff Gordon 4th, and Ricky Hendrick just beat Casey Kane for the final spot in the top 5. Heartbreak for the 38 yet again. And Jimmy Johnson right back on top. He wins it. His first of 2006 in commanding fashion here today. And what a win for him here today to get right back where he left off. Hendrick Motorsports and everybody a part of that team will be absolutely delighted with that win here today. To take home the checkered flag. And put that 48 right back in victory lane where it belongs with the new coat of paint that's on it this year. Absolutely hats off to that team. They deserve every last bit of this. So Jimmy Johnson, your winner here from Miami. A hard-fought race all day long, but it'll be the ex-champion coming out on top with a comfortable win here today. And that'll do it here from Miami. Next week, it'll be Rockingham for the Subway 400. 110 laps under the lights there for some short track, high bank action. I'm Caden Reif. On behalf of Trey and Braden in the booth with me tonight, we'll catch you then. And as always, have yourself a good one.
It's a long way to the top.